Good morning, children. Now, I suppose you remember what we are doing in the previous session. We are revising this lesson, Economy and Occupations. Now, we have already discussed about fill in the blanks, okay, and answer the following questions, okay. Now, we'll be discussing give reason, okay. Now, there's some questions given in the textbook. Apart from that, I've also given some important ones, okay, some important questions which you are likely to get. Now, under give reason, you'll be getting 4 questions and you are asked to answer any 2, okay. So marks are, okay, for 3 marks are there, okay, and you are expected to answer any 2 of them. So total marks for give reason is 6, okay. So you are expected to write at least 3 points, okay. So let's start with that. Give reason. The per capita land availability is more in Brazil as compared to India, okay. Now you are going to remember, children, you are going to write that in points and remember to write the figures correctly, okay. So here you have got too many figures, please remember them, okay. The total area of Brazil is 85,15,770 square kilometers, while that of India is 32,87,263 square kilometers. India occupies 2.41% of the land area in the world, while it supports 17.5% of the world's population. On the other hand, Brazil occupies 5.6% of the world's total land area and has 2.76% of the world's population. Okay, so when you compare India with Brazil, land area is more in Brazil, but it supports lesser population. Now, coming to the average density of population in India, it is 382 persons per square kilometer as per the 2011 census, while that of Brazil is 23 persons per square kilometer as per the 2010 census. Hence, the person availability of land in India is lower than that of Brazil. The population of India is 121 crores as per the 2011 census, and that of Brazil is 19 crores as per the 2010 census. Therefore, due to the above reasons, the per capita land availability is more in Brazil as compared to India. Okay, so here, children, we have got here 3 points are there. Okay, so the third point, okay, third point you can bifurcate it into 2 points. That is, the population of India is 121. That you can take it as a 4th point also. Okay, so you have got a total of 4 points out of this here. Okay, you can write 3 points. Remember that the figures given here you'll have to write accurately. Okay, so due to all the above reasons, we find the per capita land availability is more in Brazil as compared to that of India. Now, the second one, there is mixed economy in Brazil and India. Children, you have already studied about mixed economy in the 9th standard. So, what is a mixed economy? In a mixed economy, there is coexistence of both the private and public sectors. Its main aim is to strike a balance between profit and social welfare. Okay, so in a mixed economy, we have both the private and public sectors, and the main aim is to strike a balance between profit and social welfare. Okay, India and Brazil have been under the imperialistic rule for many years, and both are developing countries. Remember, India was under the British rule, and Brazil, of course, you know, was under the Portuguese dominion, okay, for many years. So you find both of them were under the imperialistic rule for many years, and both are developing economies. In both the countries, sectors like railways, electricity production, etc., are owned and managed by the public sector. So, under the public sector, we have railways, electricity production, etc. Sectors like banking, health, education, etc. are owned and managed by private as well as by public sectors. While we find banking, health, education, all these sectors are managed by both the private as well as by the public sectors. Hence, it is very important that the government intervenes and prevents undue concentration of economic power. Okay, there should not be any concentration of economic power. Okay, so the government has to carry out various measures. In doing so, the government strives to take care of consumption levels and objectives of the weaker sections of the society through public distribution systems and poverty alleviation programs. Okay, so the government has to see to it that the weaker section of the society is taken care of. There is distribution of wealth, okay, and also through PDS, okay, public distribution system, etc. The government has to see that the weaker section of the society is taken care of. Okay, so the government has to intervene and prevent undue concentration of economic power. Okay, so here we have got 5 points. Children, you'll have to write any 3 points of these, okay, and see to it that you write it properly. Okay, the next one, the third one, the United States of America is far ahead of Brazil and India in terms of national per capita income. The United States of America is a developed country. Okay, compared to India and Brazil, you find the United States of America is a developed country. The population of USA is less and well educated. So when you compare it with India, you find the population of USA is less, and also it is literate, more literate than India. This country has a strength of many patents and leads in modern technology, education, and industry. Okay, so the United States has the strength of many patents, and also it is a leading country when you talk about technology, education, industry, etc. Therefore, the United States of America is far ahead of Brazil and India in terms of national per capita income. So all these 3 points should be covered. First is United States of America is a developed country and the population is less and educated, and also it is a strength of many patents, and also is a leading country with respect to modern technology, education, and industry. Okay, so this is the reason why we find the national per capita income of United States is more than Brazil and India. Okay, then the fourth question, the distribution of industries in India is highly uneven. Okay, so the distribution of industries in India is highly uneven due to the following reasons. The necessary raw materials and power resources are unevenly distributed in India. Okay, so when you take industries, for example, you find there are more industries which are in the northeast part of India. Okay, for example, if you take Bengal, then Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, MP, etc., you find more raw materials, okay, metallic minerals as such, being distributed more in the northeast part of India when you compare it with other parts of India. Okay, then mica, for example, you find mica in Rajasthan. Okay, so you find distribution of industries is highly uneven due to the following reasons. The necessary raw materials and power resources are unevenly distributed in India. This concentration of enterprises, financial resources, and other necessary conditions in large towns. So, when you compare it with rural areas, you find there's more concentration of business, then availability of finance, as well as other necessary conditions you find it more available in large towns. Okay, so you find the distribution of industries is highly uneven in India. Okay, then fourth question. The northeastern part of peninsular India has a very high concentration of heavy metallurgical industries. As I said, northeastern part of India comprising of the states of Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in metallic minerals. Okay, so you take iron ore, manganese, coal, dolomite. Okay, so all these will be in abundance in these northeast states. There are also large quantities of coal reserves in this region. Moreover, the availability of refractory materials along with cheap power generated from the Damodar Valley Corporation and a number of thermal projects is suitable for the metallurgical industries. So now if you take northeastern part of India, as I said, see, if you have to set up an industry, you'll have to see whether raw materials are available in plenty. Okay, so and next is you'll have to see whether power or cheap power is available. Okay, so only if cheap power is available can you set up industry. Again, you take into consideration transport and communication facility. Okay, so if transport and communication is easy available, there is easy availability of raw materials, and also if power is cheap, okay, whether it is from water, okay, hydroelectricity or thermal power. Okay, so if all these are available, only then can industries be set up. Okay, so since all these are easily available in the northeastern part of India, we find there is a high concentration of heavy metallurgical industries. So there is large quantity of coal reserves here in this region. Also, there is availability of refractory materials and also cheap power generated from Damodar Valley Corporation, that is hydroelectric power can be easily generated from the Damodar River, and also a number of thermal projects is suitable for metallurgical industries. Okay, so got that? Now here we have got 3 points. All the 3 points you'll have to write if you have to get 3 marks. Okay, so remember each and every point is important. Okay, so only if you write all these 3 points will you get 3 full marks. Is that clear? Okay, now next is, here's the graph and you'll have to read the graph, and now whatever you can see in the graph you'll have to write the answer. Okay, so here is a bar diagram. All right, the green color. Okay, so the first 2 bars here, it's a comparison between India and Brazil, contribution of sectors to the national income. Okay, here I've taken it from the textbook. Okay, anyway the spelling of national is wrong, NATIONAL. Okay, national income. Okay, so look at this here. Here it is India and Brazil. So the contribution of all the 3 sectors towards national income, and here we are going to compare India and Brazil, that is the percentage of population which is engaged in all the 3 sectors. Okay, so look at this here. The blue color tells you that this is a primary sector. This one here, the pink one, okay, tells you that this is the secondary sector, and the green one is a tertiary sector. Okay, so contribution of the sectors to national income. So here when you look at these two, you find India, the primary sector contributes more towards national income, but in Brazil you find the primary sector contributes less towards national income. Okay, then secondary sector more or less is the same, but the tertiary sector, look at that. When you compare India with Brazil, the tertiary sector contributes more towards national income in Brazil. Let us take the percentage of population engaged in the primary sector in India. Now, in India, you find the percentage of population engaged in primary sector is more when you compare it with Brazil. Okay? Then, what about tertiary sector in Brazil? More number of the percentage of population engaged in tertiary sector is more when you compare that with India. Okay? So, let us try to understand here. Now, in the graph, the contribution of sectors to national income, primary, secondary and tertiary sectors in Brazil and India are shown. So what is shown? You'll have to say that is a contribution of the sectors to national income, the primary sector, the secondary sector and tertiary sectors. In the case of both Brazil and India are shown. In India, we find 48.8% of the population is engaged in the primary sector, 24.1% in the secondary sector and 26.9% in the tertiary sectors. What about Brazil? In Brazil, you find only 10%. See, compare India with Brazil. So this is India, 48.8% of the population. But in Brazil, you find only 10% of the population is engaged in primary sector, 19% in the secondary sector and 71% in tertiary sector. Compare that with India. In India, 26.9% of the population is engaged in tertiary sector. But in Brazil, 71% of the population is engaged in the tertiary sector. Now, let's come to contribution of these sectors to GDP. Now, in India, the contribution of the primary sector to GDP is 17, contribution of secondary sector to GDP is 26, and the tertiary sector to the GDP is 57%. On the other hand, in the case of Brazil, the contribution of primary sector to GDP is 5.5%, secondary sector is 27.50%, and the tertiary sector to GDP is 67%. So, just see the contribution of these two sectors to the national income. Okay. Thus, we can conclude that the economy of India is mainly dependent on primary activities and the economy of Brazil is mainly dependent on tertiary activities. Okay. So, from this graph, what do you conclude? Now, from this, we come to a conclusion that the economy of India is mainly dependent on primary activities because you find what is the percentage engaged. We find 48.8% of the population is engaged in primary sector. Okay, so more number of people are engaged in primary sector, but we find in the case of Brazil, 71% of the population is engaged in tertiary sector. So, India is mainly an agrarian economy. On the other hand, the economy of Brazil is engaged more in tertiary activities. So, children, this graph is very important. You should know how to read this graph. Okay. So, and remember the figures also. Okay. Remember the percentage. Okay. Of the population engaged in all the three sectors. That is Brazil and India, as well as the contribution of these sectors to the GDP. Okay, children. So, with this, we finish with the revision of your 8th lesson, and the next we will revise your 9th lesson, that is tourism, trade, tourism and communication. Okay, till then, thank you.